What if I told you that the greatest lie on Earth is not hidden in space, not on Mars, not on the Moon, but right beneath our feet? At the very bottom of our world lies a continent larger than Europe, a place buried under kilometers of ice, a place so restricted, so controlled, that most humans will never set foot there. We are told it is nothing more than a frozen desert, an empty wasteland of snow, wind, and ice. But the deeper you look, the harder that story becomes to believe. Antarctica is not treated like any other place on Earth. There are no borders, no private land, no free travel, no independent exploration. Every movement is controlled. Every visit requires permission, and every major world power agrees that it must stay this way. Ask yourself a simple question. When has humanity ever unanimously agreed on anything? Nations cannot agree on borders. They cannot agree on religion. They cannot agree on money, climate, war, or peace. And yet, when it comes to Antarctica, suddenly everyone is on the same page. Why? Why is this the only continent on Earth that you are not allowed to freely explore, even if you have the money, the equipment, and the will? Why is curiosity itself treated as a threat? We are told it is for science, for peace, for environmental protection. But history shows us that when governments say something is for your protection, there is almost always another reason. Antarctica holds nearly 90% of the planet's fresh water. Beneath its ice are vast mineral deposits, oil, gas, and resources that could fuel economies for centuries. In every other part of the world, resources lead to invasion, exploitation, and war. Yet here, all nations agreed to step back. That alone should raise alarms. The agreement that governs Antarctica was signed in 1959, during the height of the Cold War. At a time when the United States and the Soviet Union were openly threatening nuclear destruction, they came together to sign a treaty declaring that Antarctica would belong to no one. No military bases, no weapons, no mining, no permanent settlements, only science. This treaty is often praised as the most successful diplomatic agreement in human history. But some people believe it is something else entirely. A global non-disclosure agreement. Because despite what the treaty claims, Antarctica has never been free of military presence. Naval fleets transport supplies, military aircraft patrol the skies. Advanced surveillance systems monitor the region constantly. The excuse is always logistics. But logistics for what? You do not need fighter jets to study ice. You do not need warships to monitor penguins. You do not need armed personnel to drill ice cores, unless there is something worth guarding. Try to plan a trip to Antarctica. You will quickly discover that tourism is tightly controlled. You are only allowed to visit specific areas. You must follow approved routes. You are supervised at all times. Wander too far, and you will be stopped. There are places you are never allowed to go. No explanation. No transparency. Just prohibition. And whenever people start asking questions, they are ridiculed. Labeled as conspiracy theorists. Mocked. Dismissed. Because ridicule is one of the most effective tools for controlling curiosity. Now let's rewind the clock. Before Antarctica was officially discovered in the 19th century, it already appeared on ancient maps. Maps created hundreds of years earlier show a southern landmass with coastlines, rivers, and mountain ranges. These maps do not depict Antarctica as a frozen wasteland. They show it as land. One of the most famous examples is the Piri Reis map, created in the early 16th century. It shows the coastline of Antarctica with astonishing accuracy, including features that modern science claims were only mapped using sonar in the 20th century. The official explanation is guesswork. Ancient cartographers, we are told, simply imagined what the land might look like. But imagination does not explain precision. How did ancient mapmakers know what Antarctica looked like beneath the ice? Because here is another inconvenient fact. Antarctica was not always frozen. Geological evidence proves that it was once warm, green, covered in forests. Fossils of trees and plants have been found buried beneath the ice. Antarctica once supported life, which leads to a question that makes people uncomfortable. If Antarctica was once habitable, could it have been inhabited? And if advanced civilizations existed long before what we call recorded history, where would their remains be safest from time, erosion, and destruction? Not in cities constantly rebuilt, not in regions scarred by war, but buried beneath miles of ice, preserved, hidden, protected. Current civilization. Evidence that our understanding of history is fundamentally wrong. That wouldn't just change textbooks. It would collapse belief systems, religion, science, politics, power. Those in control would lose control. And power does not give itself up willingly. This brings us to the military interest in Antarctica. In 1946, shortly after World War II ended, the United States launched one of the largest military operations in polar history. It was called Operation High Jump. Officially, it was a training mission. Unofficially, it was something much larger. The operation involved 13 ships, an aircraft carrier, submarines, helicopters, and thousands of armed soldiers. This was not a scientific expedition. This was a full-scale military deployment. The man leading it was Admiral Richard E. Byrd, a highly respected naval officer and polar explorer. The mission was supposed to last 8 months. It lasted 8 weeks. It was abruptly terminated, and the fleet returned home early. Why? After his return, Byrd gave an interview in which he warned that future wars would not be fought with traditional weapons. He spoke of enemy craft capable of flying from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Those words were quickly buried. Much of Operation High Jump remains classified to this day. Some believe the operation encountered something unexpected. Others claim it was a direct confrontation with remnants of Nazi forces that had fled to Antarctica at the end of World War II. This may sound unbelievable until you look at the historical record. In 1938, Nazi Germany launched its own expedition to Antarctica. They claimed a territory they called Neuschwabenland. Submarines were sent south. Aircraft dropped markers. Photographs were taken. There are persistent rumors of an underground base, known as Base 211, built beneath the ice. A hidden fortress where advanced technology was developed, possibly based on knowledge far beyond what was publicly known at the time. Some theories suggest that the Nazis were experimenting with anti-gravity craft, often referred to as flying discs. Others go further, claiming this technology was not entirely human in origin. Operation High Jump, according to these theories, was an attempt to eliminate these remnants. If true, it would explain the sudden retreat. It would explain the casualties. It would explain the secrecy. But the story does not end there. Beneath Antarctica's ice lies a vast hidden world. Radar scans have revealed mountains, valleys, and entire landscapes buried under kilometers of ice. Some scans have detected geometric shapes that do not look natural. Perfect angles, symmetry, patterns. Scientists explain these away as natural formations, coincidences, optical illusions. But the number of anomalies keeps growing. Then there is Lake Vostok, a massive freshwater lake buried beneath nearly 4 kilometers of ice, completely sealed off from the surface for an estimated 15 million years. No sunlight, no contact with the outside world. When scientists finally drilled into it, They found life. Bacteria, unlike anything else on Earth. Officially, that is where the story ends. Unofficially, there are whispers of discoveries that were never released to the public. Discoveries that could change everything we think we know about life on Earth. And then there is the censorship. If you explore Antarctica on public satellite maps, you will notice something strange. Certain areas are blurred. Resolution suddenly drops. Coordinates lead to nothing. This does not happen randomly. Governments openly admit they censor satellite imagery of sensitive locations, military bases, archaeological sites, strategic infrastructure. So why censor Antarctica? If it is just ice, why hide it? Every image you have ever seen of Antarctica has been processed, filtered, approved. You are not seeing reality. You are seeing a version of reality chosen for you, and questioning that version makes people uncomfortable. Some theories push even further. They claim Antarctica is not just a continent, but a boundary. A massive wall of ice surrounding the known world. According to flat Earth proponents, Antarctica is the reason long-distance flights avoid the southern polar region. Commercial flights between continents take strange detours. Officially, this is for safety reasons, emergency landing zones, fuel efficiency. But critics argue that these explanations do not fully add up. They point to the idea of the ice wall, a barrier at the edge of the world, a place guarded not to protect nature, but to protect the narrative. Whether you believe this or not is not the point. The point is that you are not allowed to check. No independent exploration, no free access, no verification. Truth does not fear investigation. Secrets do. Antarctica represents the unknown in a world that pretends everything is known. It challenges the belief that humanity has discovered everything important, that there are no more secrets left to uncover. That belief is comforting. But comfort has never been the same as truth. And Antarctica remains the one place on Earth where curiosity is treated as a threat.